The morning sun filtered gently through the manicured hedges of Mbagathi Rise, casting soft golden stripes across the tiled verandas of the upscale homes. Birds chirped, sprinklers hissed. It was the kind of Saturday that invited peace. Amara was returning from her morning run, wireless earbuds still playing a motivational podcast, her water bottle clutched in one hand. She slowed to a stop when she saw something at her doorstep. A baby, alone, wrapped in a pale blue shawl, the kind sold in supermarkets with tiny clouds stitched along the edge. He was lying on the doorstep, as if placed there with careful intention, nestled in a soft carrycot lined with flannel. His cheeks were full, rosy, and peaceful, despite the chill of the morning air. His eyes were closed, his tiny fists curled up beside his head. One bootie was missing. The other hung loosely from his foot, as if he had kicked in protest at some point before falling asleep. There was no mother in sight, no stroller, no diaper bag, just the child, and silence. Amara stared at him, heart pounding in confusion and disbelief. Her sneakers felt glued to the ground. The gate was locked behind her. She turned slowly in every direction, scanning the estate road, the neighbours' gates, the hedges, nothing. No sign of movement, no voice calling out, no footsteps retreating. Then she saw it. A small white envelope, tucked between the folds of the shawl like a cruel accessory. Her husband's name was written across it, hurriedly, in blue ink. Just his name. Nathan. She didn't want to touch it, didn't want the ink to stain her fingers the way his betrayal had clearly stained her life. But her hands moved anyway, trembling as she reached for it, almost as if she were outside her own body, watching it all happen like a scene in a film. Why would someone leave his name here? What was he hiding? Who would do this? The baby shifted softly beside the envelope, his lip quivering, as though he could sense the storm brewing around him. She stepped closer, cautiously, as though afraid that coming too near might make it all true. As if distance might preserve the world as she thought she knew it. Her perfect marriage, her quiet Saturday, her home. But the world had already shifted. A secret delivered in the most fragile form. A truth too small to speak, but too loud to ignore. She took the envelope and tore it open with trembling fingers. The letter said, "You said you chose your wife. That's fine, but this is your son too. Raise him. I'm done." She staggered back, dropping her bottle. The glass shattered, echoing louder than it should have in the quiet estate. The baby stirred but didn't cry. "Nathan!" she screamed. "Nathan!" Her husband appeared at the door, yawning and barefoot, in his weekend vest and pajama pants. "Amma, what's all the—" Then he saw the baby, his face drained of colour. His mouth moved before sound followed. "Amma, I can explain." They had built their life from scratch. Amara had met Nathan at the University of Nairobi when she was studying interior architecture, and he was a skinny, brilliant boy from Mathare with big dreams and broken shoes. She had liked his brain first, then his heart. He had no money for printing papers, so she printed for both of them. When he wanted to drop out to support his siblings, she emptied her student loan to keep him in school. She was there when he graduated. She was there when he opened his first one-room design consultancy. She helped pitch to his first client. Amara had loved him like a mission, not a man. They started with rented single rooms, where the only light came from a flickering bulb and the walls were too thin to keep secrets. She cooked chapati on a charcoal jiko outside, kneading dough on an old stool, while he scribbled plans and blueprints at the corner of a shared mattress. They dreamed in that heat and noise. They failed more than once, but they never stopped climbing. When his company landed its first major contract, it was Amara who stayed up helping him draft the proposal. When he bought his first car, he insisted she take it to work for the first week because, "You carried me, I'll carry you now." They celebrated wins with shared chicken and chips from Kenchig and mourned losses, holding hands in silence. She was his cheerleader, his nurse when he broke down, his rock when clients delayed payments, and his first investor. Their love had been earned, seasoned by time, sacrifice, and a loyalty that had become almost sacred. They'd married young, fought through bills, 2 miscarriages, and his mother's disapproval. Yet she stayed, loyal, proud, determined. So when she stood at that doorstep, staring at the baby wrapped in betrayal, what shattered wasn't just a marriage. It was the foundation they had poured their blood, sweat, tears, and dreams into, the empire they had built with nothing but grit, sweat, and blind belief. And now the very man she had lifted from the ground had buried a secret so deep it had resurfaced in the form of a child, a living, breathing crack in the foundation of everything she thought was unbreakable. The name came out of Nathan's mouth like poison. Zena, he said, eyes on the floor. She was a receptionist. It was just once. During that project with Dynamic Spaces, you were in Naivasha that weekend with your mum. We had a fight. I was stupid. Just once? Amara's voice cracked, sharp with disbelief. She let out a bitter, humorless laugh, the kind that comes when pain is so deep it needs somewhere to escape. Just once, Nathan? And you happened to make a whole baby? She took a step back, eyes wide and glistening, her voice rising despite the lump in her throat. Do you even hear how ridiculous that sounds? One mistake, one night, and it just so happened to result in a child. She paced, clutching the sides of her head, the letter still crumpled in her hand. You risked our marriage. This, she gestured around the home they had built together, for some careless, unprotected fling in the middle of a project. You, of all people, Mr. Meticulous, Mr. Thoughtful, suddenly forgot everything we've built, everything I gave up for you. Nathan tried to speak, but she cut him off. A baby, Nathan. Not a lie, not a kiss, not a message I could maybe delete from your phone and pretend never happened. A whole child. Do you know what that means? Her voice cracked again, and this time she didn't stop the tears that welled in her eyes. That means you didn't just cheat. You created something permanent. You gave another woman what I have been praying for, what we cried over for years. And then you lied to my face. You came home to me, kissed me goodnight, held me, while you knew this child existed. She pushed through the door, covering her mouth, shaking her head in disbelief. Just once? Do you really expect me to believe that after all these years, all our pain, just once was enough to destroy everything? The room fell silent, heavy and charged. Only the faint whimpering of the baby broke through the tension, as if even he could feel the weight of the truth unraveling the walls around them. Nathan rubbed his hands over his face. She said she was on the pill. She promised she'd take care of it. Then she ghosted me. I thought she had. Amara laughed. A bitter, hollow laugh. You really believed that girl with fake eyelashes and a pink mouth full of lies. You let her crawl into our life, into our bed by proxy. I didn't think, clearly. The baby let out a soft cry. Amara flinched. Nathan reached for him instinctively, but Amara stepped back. She couldn't look at either of them. She packed in silence. That night, no shouting, no broken dishes, no tears running down her cheeks like in the movies. Just the eerie quiet of a woman who had finally reached the end, not just of a day, but of a chapter she never thought would close this way. The house was dim, lit only by the hallway sconces and the flicker of a muted television no one was watching. Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, head in his hands, the weight of his betrayal suffocating the room. But Amara didn't speak to him. She didn't scream or ask more questions. There was nothing left to ask. She moved with a strange calm, mechanical, detached, as if she had left her emotions outside with the shattered image of their perfect life. Her suitcase lay open on the bed. She folded her blouses with precision, smoothed her jeans with care, picked her shoes one by one from the walk-in closet they had once dreamed of owning together. The same closet he had surprised her with after their 3rd anniversary. She paused once, only once, when her fingers brushed over the soft peach-coloured silk dress she wore to their vow renewal 2 years ago. For a moment, she held it, let her fingers trace the neckline, remembering how he had looked at her that day, like she was everything he'd ever wanted. Then she folded it and placed it at the bottom of the suitcase. In the bathroom, She took her favorite perfume, the serum he always complimented her on, and her toothbrush. She didn't take the matching robes with their initials embroidered, or the framed photo by the sink of them smiling on a beach in Diani. She left those behind like evidence of a dream that never fully came true. Nathan watched her, helpless. His lips parted as if to speak, but every time he tried, he found no words strong enough to fix what he had broken. So he stayed silent too. When she zipped the suitcase, the sound cut through the room like a blade. She looked at him then, just once. Her eyes were swollen but dry, cold but not cruel. She wasn't angry anymore. She was done. She paused at the doorway, her hand resting lightly on the handle of her suitcase. For a moment, the silence between them pulsed like a wound, raw, aching, open. Nathan stood behind her, eyes pleading, lips trembling with words that no longer held weight. The baby stirred faintly in the background, as if sensing the shift in the air. Amara turned slightly, just enough to meet his eyes. Her voice was low but unwavering, firm in a way that comes from surviving heartbreak after heartbreak and still choosing to stand tall. "I'm not walking away because I stopped loving you," she began, each word slow and deliberate. "If anything, that's what makes this so hard. I loved you, deeply, fiercely, foolishly. I loved you when you had nothing, when we had nothing. I poured myself into this marriage, into you, until there was nothing left for me." She swallowed, her throat tight, but her gaze clear. "I stayed through the struggle, through loss, through nights when all I wanted was to be held, and you were buried in work or silence. I fought for this marriage like it was the only thing keeping me alive. But I can't keep fighting alone. And I can't love someone who has no idea how to protect what we built, who never protected me." She stepped closer, suitcase still in hand, voice dropping to a whisper that carried more power than a scream. She looked at him for one long final moment, and in her eyes there was no hate, just clarity. "This, whatever we had, it's no longer a home for me. It's a graveyard of the promises you buried." And with that, Amara turned and walked out, not just of the house, but out of a life that forgot her worth. Nathan stood, his face pale and pleading. "Amma, please, don't go. Don't let it end like this." She didn't flinch. "It ended the day you decided to create a future I wasn't part of." She glanced at the baby once more. "He's not the enemy, but I refuse to raise the consequence of your deception." "I didn't tell you because I was scared to lose you," he whispered. "You didn't tell me because you were already gone," she replied. "You don't have to go. Let's figure this out. We've been through worse, Amma. We didn't betray each other before. You did. You made this decision without me. Now let me make mine." She pulled her suitcase upright, walked past him, past the baby sleeping in the bassinet, past the hallway filled with wedding pictures and curated memories. And as the door clicked shut behind her, the silence she left behind was deafening. No fights, no drama, just the quiet determination of a woman who knew when love had reached its limit. Nathan wept that night, clutching a child he barely knew. Amara left. 6 months passed. Amara moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in Nairobi West, took on high-paying design contracts, and found herself again. She joined a gym, took French lessons. She cut her hair short and dyed it bronze. There was a glow about her now, a quiet fierceness. Rumors flew across Mbagathi Rise that they had divorced, that Nathan had fathered a child out of wedlock, that Amara had left everything behind, except her self-respect. Zena never came back for the baby. She posted party photos on Instagram with champagne and hashtags like #softlife, #no-regrets. When Nathan tried to reach her, she blocked him. So he raised Jabari alone. There were no parenting classes, no welcome home party, no balloons or congratulations, just silence, heavy, punishing silence, and responsibility, a kind that settled on his shoulders with the weight of everything he'd broken. He hired a nanny, Miriam, a kind older woman with wise eyes and calloused hands who had raised 4 children of her own. She handled the day-to-day needs, the crying spells, the feeding routines. But in the quiet moments, when the house had settled and Jabari lay asleep in his cot, it was Nathan who sat alone in the dim light of the nursery, rocking back and forth, staring into nothing. He bought diapers in bulk, stocked formula, Googled everything from how to burp a colicky baby to signs of teething. His browser history was filled with questions no man had ever asked him before. Questions Amara would have researched with him, if she was still around. But she wasn't, and though Jabari's presence filled the house with tiny sounds, gentle breathing, curious babbles, the occasional piercing wail, nothing could drown out the echo of what Nathan had lost. The guilt clung to him like a second skin. It followed him from room to room, sat with him at the dinner table, watched him as he tried to sleep. Every coup Jabari made felt like a haunting echo of a life Nathan destroyed with his own hands. Every cry reminded him of the child Amara had longed for, the one they prayed for and never held. And every time Jabari giggled, light, pure, unburdened, Nathan smiled through it, then looked away, choking on a grief he couldn't name. Because the joy of fatherhood was tangled with the sting of betrayal, because every milestone felt like a punishment wrapped in love, because no matter how much he loved his son, he couldn't shake the truth. Jabari had been born from a moment of weakness, and it had cost him the woman who once held his entire world together. Some nights, Nathan would whisper apologies into the dark, long after Jabari had fallen asleep. "I'm sorry, Amma. I'm sorry I broke us. I wish you were here to see him smile. I wish I could go back." But the past held no keys, and the future was a long road he'd now walk alone, with a child in his arms and a heart full of lessons he had learned far. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to this channel for more stories.